cats for you. No cats for you. None of you get any cats. There will be no cats for any of you. Except for you, Mr. Kitty, who listens on the line. You have your own internet account. You're a patron. One of the few cat patrons. I don't think I've ever only had one cat patron. And, cats are kind of stingy like that. Oh, shit, I just lost that cat patron. Damn it, I should not have said that. Oh, man. That is some shot le peu. Huh? Hello, everyone. Am I muted? I do not think so. I do not think I'm muted. It's great to see you guys. Thank you for your time, Sanity Fair. Thank you for your time. Thank you for making this apocalypse possible and allowing me to steer you on a little airship journey, possibly 5 days a week. We'll see if we can get this off. I'm trying to get the show revived. Could use a few more patrons, honestly. If you believe in the show and you want to put some energy behind it, I will take this sucker 5 days a week. 55 minutes a day is what I was trying this week. Don't hold me to that. I shouldn't have said it because next time I could decide, oh, this is horrible. But that's sort of what I've been thinking. 55 minutes, 5 days a week at 5 o'clock. And if that would take off, it'd be great. But I'm going to need you to join Patreon to do it. Why am I not kicking off the show with a lot of action? Why am I... I gave you the cat. All right, I gave you the cat. You guys had the cat. So you had something. But we have a lot to do. Noah got roofied. And I actually have sympathy for him. And we're gonna talk about it. This is part 5 of a series called the Tower of Babel, believe it or not, that all this gets to the Tower of Babel. And Noah is the Tower of Babel. He's the preserver, the original meaning of that word. And the preserver is a genetic DNA arc that spun 3 to 5 when reading and 5 to 3 when writing. And that's the dimensions of the arc itself. And there's so much. We've learned so much here. Thanks for joining me. Hey, Dad, you want another drink? Oh, son, I'm freaking hammered. I don't think I'm going to be able to drive the ark home. It's all right, Dad. I can drive you home. Here, have another drink, Dad. Dad, I love you. Oh, I love you too, Ham. I love you too. No, Dad. I love you. Yeah, Ham. I love you too, son. I really do. No, Dad. Let me stick my tongue down your throat, Dad. This is not the show. This is not. So to catch you up, last week we talked about the Patriarchs, the children of Abraham, and I want us to show you that we are squirming up the family tree through Terah, through Nahor, through Serug, through a squiggly line in red that I'm purposely leaving out a lot of people because I don't want to bore you. And then you're going to hit right up into the taint of Shem, and you're going to take a right turn. You're going to get to Noah. And from Noah, you're going to get to Lamech. And believe it or not, Lamech, you're going to get to Prometheus, but that's another show. Last week, I told you about one of those patriarchs, Rebekah, and how she had this interesting story involving the heel catcher. And I pointed out that the heel catcher happens to be one of the major differences between Team Red and Team Blue. What is Team Red and Team Blue? Team Red and Team Blue is the only way that I'm going to be able to get the mythology people and the archaeology people and the truther people to come together inside of a tent where I've called a parlay, and I'm Kono-Takarius. They don't know who Kono-Takarius is. But I brought them all together in this tent, and I've done it using the red team and the blue team, because really all of these are the same. They're all the same. And I wrote an article about this. You can see it in the comments below. I'm going to go over this really fast. There's a red team on the left. There's a blue team on the right. The red team ran 20 miles without stopping. The blue team could run maybe 100 yards. And it was more like a plod. They could plod 100 yards. The red team had an Achilles. The blue team was flat-footed. The red team had pores in their skin to allow perspiration so that they could cool down. The blue team, they didn't have that. The red team had a giant tumor on top of a tumor inside their head that you and I call the frontal lobe. The blue team didn't have that. The red team purposely atrophied their olfactory gland inside their mouth. Meanwhile, the blue team dug in deeper and said, I will learn to smell even longer. I will rely on smell even more. The red team civilized itself. The blue team stayed solitary. The red team developed things like placebo and the ability to lie, the ability to have fantasy. The blue team did not have these things. It was basically in a one state kind of mind. The red team was able to hallucinate up to 5 different shades of black and white, and it called these things red, orange, yellow, green, blue. The blue team just barely saw during the day. The moon-eyed people are just one example, but the giants could not defeat us during the day, is what was said. And this is because they could not see. They had night vision. There was a social high-res taste bud palette inside the red team. They could taste all sorts of flavors because they needed a social way of cueing each other. So they spent all those brain calories on taste. Meanwhile, the blue team was eating acorns. Just all acid and everything. Red team had at least a year-long memory. Blue team was probably can remember themselves for about a week. And if they didn't have enough primers, if they didn't have enough ritualistic bones, if they didn't crawl into a hole at night, a mound that they crawled inside of and curled up next to the bones of their ancestors, they could not remember who they were. The 7-day week is the Mobius strip of their consciousness. The red team required outbreeding to recreate, and the blue team actually relied almost solely on inbreeding. Very different forms of advancement. Now, with the patriarchs, of course, we discussed this already, but this is here. These are all the patriarchs that we discussed last time, and that each of them had a intravenous intervention to cause them to be pregnant. Not only that, but Noah is said to split into 2 by the children of Prometheus. This is a sort of a mismatch of all of the different traditions placed into one, where Noah and Deucalion are actually the same people. And if you understand that, then if you read the story of Deucalion, then you can actually say that once the deluge was over and the couple had given thanks to Zeus, Deucalion, i.e. Noah, consulted an oracle of Themis about how to repopulate the earth. He was told to cover your head, throw the bones of your mother behind your shoulders, and wherever they land, if your wife throws them, they'll become women, and if you throw them, they'll become men. The statue of Lady Justice, Themis, the god of law, the goddess of law, has a sword and a scale. And you and I associate this with justice. And this shows you how innocent we are to the true mythology of things, because that justice is actually the symbol of chance. And the sword that justice holds with the balance on the other hand really goes back to Themis, again, the goddess of law. And that what Themis was doing was actually using a sword to cut you in half, and you would either be a male or a female. And when we think about the scales of justice, we actually don't understand that this is actually the scales of chance. And when you enter into the halls of justice, when you submit to the criminal justice system, you are rolling the dice, the 2 gonads of fucking chance. I kid you not, that the mythology is actually that. You're rolling the bones of male or female, the most sacred kind of separation. And so justice was always seen as a trial. You know this. In fact, during a divorce, sometimes a man would have to get inside of a hole And then he'd fight his wife. And they'd have like a fight to the death. And it'd be like, I want the Audi 5000. Well, that's an old car. I want the whatever. And it's like, get in a hole, we'll fight over it. That actually happened. That justice itself was basically the concept of dueling in a safe and effective way. And that the criminal, the prosecutor, the defense is just that. It's the myth of Themis expressing itself. Yeah, totally a casino. And if it wasn't as much of a coin toss, people wouldn't watch. They wouldn't rely on the chance as much. The chance is an important element. If you watch my Talking Reptiles series, you understand this is actually how the brain works too. But we won't talk about the brain. The brain. But what we will talk about is the invention of nudity. Because what I just described to you is actually the invention of nudity. And you and I take for granted that nudity's always been here. But before, at Adam Cadman, at the Patriarchs, nudity wasn't invented yet. In order for you to feel nude, there are a couple things that are required. First, you need to feel some sort of shame. Now, shame is a fielding. Some of you will call it feeling, and that's fine. But I'm saying if you call it a fielding, just for today, if you say shame is a field, and I don't mean like a flower field, but that's great too if you want to go with it. I just don't know how you're going to stay with me here. But shame is a fielding. It's a kind of electro-static radar that you have. And that this shame field is all around you at all times if you're a healthy person. Sounds backwards, right? I know it sounds totally backwards. If you are a healthy person, you have a vibrant shame. And the shame actually only exists in certain glands. I'm not going to say chakra. There are certain glands that cause shame. And last time on Tuesday, we covered the 7 different glands of the Vitruvian. And I pointed out that actually it could be 8, right? And that the missing gland, the other gonad, because male gonads and female gonads are twins within twins, but we'll get to that. But that by you missing one of these glands, you have shame. You've created shame. And when you've created shame, when we've created shame in the body, let me rephrase that. When we've created a biological, anatomical shame, there we go. Anatomical shame. James True uncovers anatomical shame tonight on James True. Pee, 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 pee. You got pee, pee, and it's got shame. That this is why this works. And the anatomical shame is going to create a certain part of you that you're going to want to cover up. This covering up is actually going to help your shame grow. And this is a fucking miracle. This is a fucking miracle. Because the inventor, actually the instantiator, the person that hit launch program on you, wanted you to have shame, and they wanted it to be so core to who you were that you ended up developing fashion, society, nuance directly as a result. That all of the intricacies that come along with lying would be jump-started and kick-started through the insertion of shame into your body. And that the insertion of shame in your body would come from the missing of one of your twins. The removal of one of your twins would invent the concept of nudity. The pudendum, or sexual organ, was so revered that back when I told you that the first churches were cock and balls, just walking around with Abraxas, giant dildos running through Rome. I mean like giant, like 10 feet long, parade floats, of Dildoicus, although that's probably not an actual name, but Dildoicus would come to town and everyone would go kiss the Dildoicus, and that actually did happen. But that during wartime, the sacred jewels, the sacred genitals that were used during war were always covered. And that during battle or during at any point in time, even if you were on the same side, if you were to touch, or more importantly, if you were to look upon, this is really key, if you were to look upon the sacred genitals, that is a capital offense and you would be killed for that. You would actually be killed for that. And that this, I think, is actually the harmonic of the nucleus. I think that the prokaryotic cell was actually able to develop through this sort of technology. That the only way you could grow an advanced form of nucleus would be if you felt so desperately important to protect something. And that insertion of wanting to protect something is really a way of amplifying your self-worth. It's an immune response. And that immune response gives you the ability to hide from the world, which actually makes you able to explore it more. You actually feel safer because the turtle is on your back. You have your own shell, so to speak. And that shell, because it's focused in a certain area on your body, here's the magic. If you cover that up, the rest of you kind of feels fine. I've discussed this before about how, especially in the 9/11 Homecoming Yesterday episode, was that the things that you think you're scared of, yes, they're scary, but actually, they're actually hiding the other thing behind it that is even scarier. And so, if you were to cover up your penundum, your private parts, you would feel less exposed, which would give you a sense of confidence to navigate through the world. I believe that this and the olfactory being removed were exactly the keys necessary to create a social symbiotic man. That the red team and the blue team had a very big difference, and it was their social status. And so without this olfactory, without these changes, without the insertion of male-female, you really don't have, there's no context for someone to seek their missing part. When you are attracted to a female and you're a male, anatomically, your gonads are missing their own ovaries. And by missing their own ovaries, their other twin, they would feel attracted to someone that had them. And that this would create a magnetism that would lead to fertility being installed. The only reason why this is difficult to ponder, if it's difficult to ponder, is because you've just thought that fertility was always here. That's really the only step that if you could break that step, you would actually be able to reread all of ancient history, whether it be archaeologically, whether it be mythologically, whether it be religious, and you would see what I'm seeing now. I'm not breaking any rules. I'm simply saying fertility wasn't always here. This sounds suspiciously Freudian. Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Excuse me. You know, it's great to tie Freud to the back of the car and, you know, slowly increase the speed and watch him try and keep up. And then, you know, he starts to trip and then we're all having a great time because we're like, that fucker's a piece of shit. and I'm not saying you're doing this, but this happens all the time. But the truth is that Freud saved a lot of lives. I'm sorry, but he did. That dude was the first person that started to even engage the fact that the manifested psyche could be showing itself physically. This was a huge idea at the time. It was very, very innovative. Now we can talk all about his wife and all the weird shit, and we could do episodes on all kinds of stuff. But I just want to take you back to what I just said yesterday about it. It doesn't all have to be fraud, guys. I know that we're mad. I know that we hate the system, blah, blah, blah. I know that in 7 days they, did all this stuff, and most of you guys don't even know what they did yet. And so, you're mad and we just want to throw everything away. And I'm with you. And also I'm a dumpster diver. And so I've been like, yeah, fuck it all. Now I'm going through the remnants of the trash and I'm saying, holy shit, look at this. Holy shit, look at this. Freud is one of those, it is. Hitler's one of those. Not necessarily what he was doing, but if you just look at what happens over the time and the molehill that it creates from there, it gives you better insight. Again, the key is think the world's perfect and then try and figure out how every piece fits to where somehow it's perfect, even though there's all this horror around it. It's difficult, requires a lot of calories, requires a lot of focus. You got to dig in, baby. You got to dig in. So this yeast, I'm going to skip this for now, but I'm going to quickly say that you can actually program yeast to hold, I guess I'm not skipping this. You could actually program yeast to hold human DNA. We can actually say, hey man, I'm going to take some human DNA, I'm going to put it in yeast, and I'm going to culture that yeast. And a week later, I'm going to pull that human DNA that's been cultured and replicated inside of itself, and I'm going to put it inside a human, and no one's going to know that yeast was there. No one's going to know. The middleman. Why? Because it has the same karyotic nature to it. In my opinion, yeast is like a huge clue about our genetic history because they're highly programmable. Yeast can be programmed to hold any kind of information. It's kind of like a thumb drive. Yeast is a thumb drive. And I think it's kind of important that there's 30 Bible verses that insist that you cannot have unleavened bread during this time. I personally think that if we start to apply our modern technology, yeast possesses 23% you can do it, James. Homologous genes to humans. I'm not going to be able to do it. Yeast possesses 23% sort of similar kind of genes to humans. It's kind of not compatible. We'll say that. Okay. And that this gives you a platform to do a lot of things. And that, we could say, well, no, because he wanted to suffer because your bread wasn't fluffy. And it's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I've heard that too. I know. Yeah, that's what they told me too. They're like, you don't get no fluffy bread, haha. Or you had to fled Egypt, so you didn't have time for your bread to rise. This is my favorite. They're literally like, yeah, well, they fled Egypt and they didn't have time to let the bread rise. So, of course, James, when you run with bread, it doesn't rise. You know that because running through the desert with bread makes it not rise. And if you want to preserve bread and not actually have any yeast, you just have to run in a circle. And if you run in a circle in the desert, the yeast don't rise. And I'm just like, you guys are fucking high. And they're like, you're saying you're Lucifer. How dare you fucking say that? And I'm just saying, if you genetically look at what's going on, I think there's a clue here, which is that during Passover, unleavened bread is distributed to the people, and they are supposed to eat a very specific goat. That goat is going to have an innocence to its blood because that goat was literally raised by the person that just slaughtered it. And so that innocence in the blood is going to have a primed kind of special, we would call this kosher now. But that blood is probably not going to be as acidic. It's probably not going to have the horror or trauma of it being slaughtered inside the blood. So if you want to picture this, the blood would basically be more bulbous, be more luxurious. And that if you could convince a certain group of people within a city to not confuse a scanning, think about a PCR, wireless PCR via drone Passover. And when you pass over the house, you would be able to detect which DNA had kosher goat blood coursing through its veins. And that the ones that did, they would be counted in some sort of census and or some sort of Passover ritual could be applied genetically. This is the Oracle mythology stretched to the most realist point. And if you bring it back into the science, I mean, not in the science, because this is the science, but I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. This is the oracle mythology in the most literal point, like taking the most literal form of the story, but that you could do the same thing by looking at the cellular process of the zygote as it's developing into the fetus, and that it too would have a cleansing of its chimera. The twins within twins would separate because the zygote has it knows its sex, and it's going to now develop gonads, whether they be ovaries or testicles. And so the Passover could be looked at as something that happens very, very small, in the very, very tiniest part. Almost every biblical reference, Talmudic reference, Islamic reference, has this horned one. I showed you yesterday about the horned Venus, and that the mixing of these two things creates the horned one, the one that would be king of their own fertility. And that if you think about all the legends of twins within twins, if you look on the screen, you'll see that, well, wait a minute, there's twins ovaries, and then there's twin testicles. By gosh, James, if you were to combine the ovaries and the testicles, you would have twins within twins. And that's all you talk about, is twins within twins, twins within twins, twins within twins. And here the horned one is twins within twins. Right? So this is a very, very strong clue. This is the Inspector Clouseau. And the gonads and the ovaries put together are the chimeric manifestation of the twin. And the original king, the original Khan, would be the one that would have sex with himself. The people that were feared in Egypt were these horned ones. Hey, James, would that mean Hathor is the horned Venus? Ding, 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 ding. Someone give this person a gonad. Yes. I think that when we start to understand what Hathor is, cow goddess, I think you're looking at the horned female. And so the entire Hathor concept really is just the sacred hermaphrodite, the twin within twin. Hope you guys are enjoying James True. Here are 21 Bible verses that have mistakes. This is my favorite. People are like, yeah, the Bible has a mistake. And God has trust issues. He's like, hired his vice president. Vice president stabbed him in the back because God didn't know. And God, it was his best friend, man. God's like, oh, I totally got fooled. Oh, God totally fooled me. And now he's running amok in the company, and he's ruining it, and I can't stop him. Oh, I keep trying to get him, but he keeps getting way slippery. Oh, and God's just like, he's kind of lame as fuck. Like, in this story, he's kind of lame as fuck. And we take that idea that God's broken to the extreme, and we just start to edit the fucking Bible. And so King James comes out, hello, I'm my fiance who I blamed witchcraft for trying to drown her, even though I didn't go pick her up. So clearly I didn't. Guys, if you love a woman, don't send a fucking boat to go get her. Man, fucking go get her. Go pick her up. Take her on a honeymoon. You got her. You got a boat, dude. You got a fucking boat. Go see some orca. Like, King James like, oh, look, the Shamu are so... Oh, I see Shamu in your eyes when the moon... These 21 verses, I should say on topic here. These 21 verses, Christians will say, well, that's just wrong. We're going to say Noah. That sounds like a boy. Say Noah's got a pee-pee, so we're going to say male, even though it says female. We're going to change it. Even though the sacred word of God says female, we're going to change it to his tent. And that's what they did on Genesis 21. On Genesis 12:18, it said Abraham. And they're like, wait a minute, Abraham, that sounds like a dude's name. That's like a good, rugged American dude. We're gonna we're going to say he's a male, even though it said female. So they changed it to his tent. Genesis 13:1, Abram again. This is before he got the aha. We'll talk about the aha. Maybe not today. There's not a lot of time. But Genesis 13:3, before he got the aha, the take on me, he was a female, but we're like, no, we're changing that one too. Look, we established, James, what we've established here is preacher precedent. And what it means is, since I made that decision yesterday that Noah has clearly got a boys tends to it, we're just going to stick with this. And if it means that 21 verses later, I've been changing the word of God that's been sacredly handed down through the Septuagint and all the other Latin Fugiates and the P-Cube Farquays, then that's what we're going to do. Because by God, my daughter is going to marry a boy with a penis. And that's really important to me. So we got all these things, and then Lot, dude, he's got a... In pitch tent, we changed Lot. We didn't change it. Lot we got right. Turned out he's like, oh good, I don't have to change Lot. Oh man, I was starting to think I was wrong. But then Lot came and saved me. I was saved by Lot. Hey, that's big Lot. So that's what they said. He's like, hey, what you got down there? He's like, I got some big Lot. And Abram, that was a removed tent. That one worked out. See, here Abram's a female. I should be more serious with this part. Abram's a female here, but then he's a male. And then Abraham becomes a female. He gains the ha. This is sort of like the objective Abraham, and I think it's kind of like the instantiation of Abraham. I believe that what we're looking at here is Abram is the hermaphrodite Abram. This is like Adam Kadmon, like we talked about yesterday, the primal Adam. And the same thing exists for the Abram becomes Abraham. So Abraham is the Abraham, but in our mind, we might think the is in more important. But I'm talking about the specific Abraham. I'm doing this. It's like Abram is the library, the genetic library, and then the specific Abram is the Abraham, if that makes sense. Of course it makes sense. You're watching James Show Live. Of course it's going to make sense. So you've got the Genesis 18:1, 18:2, same thing, Abraham. You've got the same thing in Genesis 26:25 with Isaac and his tent. In 31, you have Jacob. He's male twice. Israel female. I'm afraid I'm not going to get to the material, so I'm going to skip this for now. But these are all legit. And if you want to screen capture this, you can do that. You can do it. So, quick review. Watch my mouse. Everything from Adam and Eve all the way down to Noah are strictly blue team. Strictly 22 chromosomes, not 23. The 23rd chromosome is the SRY chromosome. We discussed this on Tuesday, and those came out of the ark because they were built from the Enoch seed. Here's the Enoch seed, the DNA seed. That seed had to be kept in complete darkness because as soon as the sun hits it, it starts the transposon process. So DNA basically is solar activated. It's activated by source. So if you keep it in a preserver, then the key doesn't fall susceptible to radiation, to radiance, we should say. So everyone's 22 chromosomes up to Noah, and then Noah has 3 children historically. He has Shem, he has Ham, and he has Japheth. I've put an extra name here called Bith. Bith is in red. And that all of these guys actually have 23 chromosomes. And I'm gonna show you why. As you know, Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, inherited the 3 lands, and that Ham's son Canaan was cursed. Genesis 9:1, Noah and his sons are commanded to multiply and fill the earth. They are given dominion over all forms of life. The death penalty is decreed for murder. God will not again destroy the earth by a flood. Canaan is cursed. Shem and Japheth are blessedithos. And so the countries of Africa, Europe, and Asia are separated with these 3 different DNA. And it turns out that we have these 3 different DNA windings too. And I think there's a good chance that these are just simply encoded. But the oracle, later on, the people interpreting the oracle decided that these were the continents that separated them. In fact, you're going to notice there's actually 4. I just didn't want to confuse us last time, but there's actually a C strand, but this one's super rare. Super rare. And it's so rare that I think it's actually kind of related to what happens here. So the people with the 22s, the 22 chromosomes, these are the people that were twins within twins. Again, 22 chromosomes and they're twins within twins. Just want you to think about that, the resonance, okay? And that they had 4 commandments. Only 4. They didn't have 10. First commandment, I want you to have fruitful sex. Very first thing. Dudes, you got one job. What's that? I need you to bang these chicks. How do I do that? This is easy. All right? You're going to take we've gone over this. That's God's like teaching him the birds and the bees. That's literally what happened. It's like, no, do it. Hump her more. Hey, can you pretend that you like this? And she's like, oh my God, how long do I have to do this? And God's like, just forever. Just forever. Can you just pretend that you're digging this? Because if you pretend, he's going to really get into this. And she's like, okay, oh my God. Is that what you want? He said, no, not me. Don't use my name. Use his name. He's like, oh, my Noah. Is that what you want? My Noah. Oh, my Noah. It's like, yeah, just do that. Meanwhile, she's like, God, I want to have sex with you. And he's like, don't do that. Do not call my name out. Do not call. And the whole time, Eve's been like, guys. Everyone's been cheating on us. She's been calling God's name the whole time. It just hit me. I'm going to stop the show. I can't believe this is happening. First commandment, have fruitful sex. Second commandment, please don't eat each other. Hey guys, can you not eat each other? Oh, all right, fine. Third commandment, don't kill each other. That's nice. Fourth commandment, have more fruitful sex. I'm not exaggerating. I've got them outlined right here on the left. These are the 4 commandments. Have fruitful sex. It's a sandwich, right? On the first commandment is have fruitful sex. The last commandment is have fruitful sex. In the middle, please don't eat each other. This is showing you every single thing that we've ever talked about when it comes to the Mesoamerican lore of giants and the cannibals that existed. And that the big clue here is that why would you need to tell someone who's in a primitive state that they would need to have sex? This is a huge clue. They had to be told twice. All right. So first of all, I don't want it to slide that someone had to come down and say, hey, can you guys not eat each other? Okay. So I want you to put that in the context to where this same mind that could probably only think about a week is only given 4 rules. And if you think about what are the rules that I'm going to pack into this thing, it's not like don't eat your own poo, right? It's not like don't fornicate in front of your children. It's not like don't steal. It's none of those things. It's none of those things. It's if you guys want to make it, I need you to pound someone else, right? You need to pound each other. You need to get it on. Now, it could be that they're both hermaphroditic. I don't mean this in a derogatory way. I just need you to picture this so we can move on. Picture like a hermaphroditic kind of Down syndrome kind of person with not really an identity. And that you're trying to make them have whoopee. And that you're trying so hard that you're like, hey, don't eat each other. Take that out of your mouth. No, put that in your mouth. Yeah, but don't bite it. Don't bite it. Don't you bite that. Don't bite it. Good. Kiss it. Yeah. And that this is more, it gives you an idea of what they were dealing with at the time. It shows you the lower consciousness where it was at. It shows you where it was at and what was necessary. Then we get to Genesis 9. Holy shit, what is going on here? And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. Remember, Ham is actually Canaan, if it sounds like 4. Well, Canaan is his son, but anyway. Genesis 9:20. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. Do you hear that? And Noah began to be a husbandman. Noah began a new career as a geneticist, as someone who was creating not a eugenics program, but a genics program. Is that the word? We've been surrounded with eugenics our whole life. We don't even know what the word is for like progenics. Is that it? Is it progenics? I don't know. But you get it. Like it's that's his job. And he planted a vineyard. And I think the key to this is that this was so crucial. This is the oracle mythology compressing itself. And that the vineyard of man has to be put into the vernacular because it's the only way genetics would fit into the mythology as it is as a vineyard. And that because of the vineyard, he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. This is a huge, that's not a joke. This is a huge part of it. Uncovered within his tent means exactly like we talked about last time when Rebekah saw Isaac in the field and he was uncovered. It means erect. And when you think about Malamu, remember how I told you the psychologists, please don't eat each other? Don't eat him. I think that you're looking at a kind of person that when they saw an erect, there wasn't a lot of neocortextual like jazz music. There wasn't a lot of foreplay. It was two play, right? It was probably one play. It was like a 1-bit play, and it was just like that good, me go. And keep in mind, the neocortex takes a while. It's like a half second behind you, and it probably wasn't even online then. So it's really not outside of the realm of what these people were capable of to think that he was uncovered within his tent, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness on his father, and that by seeing the nakedness on his father means he partook of the nakedness. All right. Now, he comes out of the tent, and he told his two brethren what just happened. And Shem and Japheth took a garment. Remember Rebekah? She covered herself. Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders and went backward and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. Now, this was backwards is actually related to how Adam and Eve are stamped genetically. I believe that actually the reason why these guys didn't get in trouble is because genetically they were not able to impregnate Noah. That they probably did have their way with their father, but because their faces were backward, this is like a mule and a horse walking to a bar and a donkey comes out. Or is it donkey and a horse? Yeah, donkey's the middle. It's like that. And Noah awoke from his wine and he knew what his younger son had done, meaning he was pregnant. Noah got up in the morning and, and he's listening. I wake up and get my coffee in the morning. I go pee and I wonder, hey, am I pregnant? Hey, am I pregnant? It says positive. And he's just like, what do I do? And he writes in his diary and he's like, oh my God. And God's like, dude, I'm right here. And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot. Why am I keeping a diary? And so it is my nose getting bigger? I don't know, man. You could probably measure that. You should do like a thing. Word in the comment. If you think I'm a Jew, yeah, I'm a Jew, dude. I really don't mind. I dated a girl. As a joke, I told her I was Jewish once, and then she told her parents I was Jewish. They were all happy for her. I had no idea this was a thing. I swear, I didn't even know. It was 3 or 4 years later. All of a sudden, we're at dinner. I say something, and she got so fucking pissed. She dropped her fork and knife. Yeah, she dropped her fork and knife and looked at me, and she goes, "You're not Jewish?" And I was like, "No, I'm not Jewish." I just kept eating. She was horrified. She was horrified. It's horrible. I feel horrible that happened. So yeah, if it helps you either like me or hate me more to think I am or am not Jewish, man, I say fucking go for it. I'm just glad you're watching. So yeah. So the Noah woke from his wine and knew that he was pregnant. And what did he do? He cursed Canaan. He didn't curse Ham. He didn't curse Ham. He cursed Ham's son. What the fuck does this mean? What does this mean? There's an Irish rumor going around that Noah had a fourth son, and that fourth son was exiled. He was thrown off the ark, and he moved to Ireland. And he founded the race of red giants there, and his name is Bith. His name is Bith. So why did this happen? If you think about the red team to the blue team, the red team is a modern man, lives 100 years. The blue team lives 800 years. This is figuratively. I'm just trying to get you to remember these two teams. Slowly, the patriarchs live for less and less time, right? You know this. 900 years, 800 years, 700 years. It's a slow decline. And if you read into Noah, his sons only lived 100 years. They were the first ones that only lived 100 years. They were the first ones. And so Noah was seen as the person who brings hope, who restores all these horrible things. The 4 commandments turns into 10. And he's able to up the resolution of man, but to up the resolution of man, the nature of man changes from this 22 chromosome into a 23 chromosome, as we've been talking about. So, Shem and Japheth are really getting old. Ham sees this. Meanwhile, Noah lives to 800, 400 years, 500 years. Not only that, his brothers, just like him, they don't look like Noah. They don't have horns. What does they don't have horns mean? They only have 2 gonads. Him being their sons, they only had testicles. Noah had both. Why would Ham roofie his dad? And I'll tell you why. Immortality. Ham saw through his own brother's children that he was going to die a mortal death, that his death was going to come at 100, and that he felt robbed. This is actually in the story, that he felt robbed. He felt that he was not shown enough favor, meaning that he understood that the DNA chain was breaking down and that every generation was a loss of compression from one team to the other, a movement, an arc opening where it moves from one team to the other. And Ham did not want that for his children. Ham wanted his children to be as powerful as Noah was. And when Ham sees Noah drunk, he puts his seed inside Noah. Noah has a 4th son who is cursed, and the 4th son is Canaan. Therefore, Canaan is the son of Noah and Ham, both. It is both. The compression of the mythology puts this together in sort of a Rubik's-like cube, but it shows you that it's actually both. Here's the etymology. This is probably why I get called a long nose, because I read things, which is great. I hope that people would be proud of all the long noses, because they've put out some amazing things to be read. This shows you the pronouns in which he goes into her tent, that Noah is actually her tent in Genesis 9:2-1. And that, well, because we wanted to make sure our noses weren't too long, we're going to change it. We're going to say it's his tent. Man, I feel so religious. We got all the long noses out of the literature. I mean, it's still their literature, but now it's short nosed. We circumcised it. We're in charge because we cut our dicks off because they told us to, and now we're mad, but we don't know why we're mad. Another story. God cursed Ham because he broke a prohibition on sex aboard the ark. You catch that? He broke a prohibition on sex. The rule was, do not have sex with your dad. Don't have sex on the ark. Don't have sex. You guys are selfing here. You're selfing. And so it makes quite a lot of sense that this would be here. Shit, I'm out of time. Because I've told you a lot about the Oracle mythology, it's not always so literal. I don't think it's all literal. I personally think the story of Genesis is just the blastocyst. And if you just reread Genesis, you'll be like, this is fucking amazing. It's just all the stories is telling you that we know what's happening inside of our blastocyst, inside of our zygote. And one of those things is this. When Lamech named his son Noah, he prophesied, this shall comfort us concerning our work and toil, because the ground which the Lord hath cursed, the people were, where is this? Noted that saying the reason the name employed word, sorry, I'm trying to catch up here. Both point to, in Genesis 3:17, it points to this phrase, to sigh, to breathe, to rest, to lie down. And that when Noah was given the promise that there would be no flood, you could look at this as the fallopian tube. A promise that you would reach a new land and that you would need to breach from the wall and develop inside the placenta, inside the horus, that you would be able to hang here safely. And the rainbow promise is this concept that these things will never come. And this happens because you actually start to take your first breath. This is fetal breathing. And if you look at this image, you'll see what a fetus looks like at 10 weeks old. And that at 10 weeks, it starts to do what's called fetal breathing. Here's a a map of it down here, what it looks like. And that this would be that heartbeat. This is the first to sigh, to breathe, to sigh, to breathe, to rest, to lie down. That's what that means. Rabbi Samuel backs this up by saying Genesis 3:4 has the same kind of language about he saw her. I just think it's funny sometimes when I'm trying to make the Midjourney, the AI give me, I was like, two black parents are surprised by a white albino child, and that this image, this image came up, and I just thought that was funny. I just wanted to say that. However, I do want to point out that in this story inside the Apocrypha, there's a fight where Lamech's like, bitch, that baby ain't mine. And she's like, I swear to fuck, this is my baby. And he's like, bitch, that lady came from a watcher. She's like, I swear it didn't come from a watcher. And I think this is something else that's really important. Like, it was like standard back then to wonder if your wife was somehow IVF, if she was somehow inseminated artificially. Rebekah, Eve, Lee, all of them have this. Sarah, I'm sorry, not Lee. All of them have this same thing. They all have this. I know, even the baby. See, I was hoping the baby was going to be all chill, but oh man. And actually, she was supposed to be chill, and the baby was supposed to be chill, because the story is Lamech was like freaking out. It was Lamech that was freaking out. There's a lot of work inside the British Medical Journal. It's been written. You know what? I should save this for next time. We'll save this for next time. We're going to do a politics episode tomorrow. I want to talk about why 322 happened with Obama and Trump. We'll see if you like that. If you guys can get me back up to Patreon to a little bit higher, and you want me to go a little bit longer like this when I do, I will. But I need this show to be able to sustain us as we get called names and everything else through the thing. Because there's a lot to do. There's a lot of work goes in the show, and I love doing it. I friggin' love doing it. But yeah, there's a lot more here. I'll write this up in an article. You guys can check it out there. And sorry if I dilly-dally too long, but there's a lot to cover here. So thank you so much for being here. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.